Most experts using large language models are doing the same thing, typing in a question, getting a reasonable answer, refining it, getting a little closer, but never quite hitting the mark. It works up to a point, but here's the real issue. Every time you open a new chat, AI starts from zero. It doesn't know your business, it doesn't know your clients, your standards, your positioning, or how you think about things. You do, but the tool doesn't. So what happens? You get generic. You get close, but not quite close enough. And you end up doing the same explanatory work every single time. Repasting context, re-explaining your audience, re-establishing what good looks like. The bottleneck isn't AI's capability, the bottleneck is context. And right now, that context lives entirely in your own head. What if it didn't have to? Let me show you what that looks like in practice. A custom GPT that already knows your business before you've typed a word. So here I am in Claude on a brand new chat, and all I'm going to do is ask it a very simple query. So I'm going to ask it to draft an email response to a prospective client who says they're already using ChatGPT and doesn't see why they need our help. So this has no context at all about what I'm about or what we do. So let's see what it does. So we can see here in Claude that it has created a reasonable output. It's given me different options to show differentiated value, acknowledge, or concede and stay in touch. And it's a nicely worded email, but it's very vanilla, it's very generic, and that's because it doesn't have any context. Now let's see what happens if we use the same prompt, but put that in a project. So to navigate to projects, we go up to the top left here. I click on projects, and I have a project set up for AI for experts, but also for another business, which we call Expert OS. And what we do is we help anyone in the knowledge-based business to implement AI into their organization. Now, it has lots of context you can see here, lots of information about what Expert OS is. And I'm going to ask it the same prompt. Let's see what it says this time. So before I answer it, it's asked me for some specific context. So how does this prospect come to us? Let's say referral. How do they think they know about ChatGPT? And what is the goal of this email is to shift their thinking. So I've answered those questions, and now it's going to provide us with a draft output. You can see here, it's drawn from Expert OS positioning, all the files that we've uploaded into our project, and it's going to give us an email which is far more on point in terms of what we're trying to achieve. So Claude understands that at Expert OS, we're all about capturing their lived experience, structuring their IP, and it's going to reflect this in the email. So when I look at this email, it's far more in touch with the way that we actually write and the way we speak to people. It's also references some of the services that we offer so that most of the experts we work with are already using AI tools. What they're missing isn't access to a chatbot. It's a structured foundation that makes everything they do with AI actually mean something. So it's bringing in all the context it understands about Expert OS into the actual email itself. And this is just one use case. Once this system has context, then it can really start to leverage AI in a very powerful way. That's the goal. A first pass that not only sounds like your business, but actually captures it. The thinking, the standards, the way you frame things. Now let me show you how it's built. I'm going to use Claude to create my business advisor, and we do this in projects, but there are equivalents in other large language models. So in ChatGPT, it's known as a custom GPT, and in Gemini, it's known as GEMS. But in essence, they all do the same thing. They draw on context that you upload, so the outputs are much more context sensitive and much more geared specific towards the type of output that you're trying to create. So to create my project, I simply click on projects, I click new project, and I need to give it a name. So in this demonstration, I'm going to create an example for a business advisor that's working with construction companies in the UK. So let's call this my business advisor. I'm going to say I am a business growth specialist working with construction companies. You will be my sparring partner. And I create my project. Now this brings up this interface. And what we need to do first is add some context to it, because at the moment it doesn't know what the business advisor is all about, who they work with, what values they offer. So I do this through files. So there are 5 files that we found that add a lot of richness that will give you a very strong business advisor straight from the outset. So the first one is a vision framework, and a vision framework is what you're building and why it matters as a business. The second one is an ideal customer profile. So who you're actually trying to help in your business. The third is what we call a value map or a value canvas, and it's what your clients want, what's in the way, and where you help along that journey. The fourth is a pitch. So what's your elevator pitch that describes what you do and why it matters? And then finally, a tone of voice guide. So it's actually how you think and speak. So I'm going to add all these files because I've created them, prompts that you can download from the AI for Experts website. So I'm going to add those files, and you can see that they are being uploaded right now. So we have a pitch, we have a value canvas, we have a tone of voice, we have a vision framework, and we have an ideal client avatar. And now we've added those. I can also add some instructions to tailor Claude's responses in this box here. So I've created some quite comprehensive ones using a prompt, and we will provide these in the link to download, and you can also download them from the AI for Experts website. But in essence, it's specifying what the project should be, how they should act, is what their role is, how they should behave, that they should lean into the documents, and the tone and style I want them to actually converse with me in this chat. So let's save those. And in essence, your project has now been set up. Your business advisor is there to help you. So all you need to do now is add prompts in like the one we showed earlier, and it will give you tailored answers and outputs based on the context you have provided it. Now, if you don't have any of the documents yet, we've built a full set of prompts that you can use with your chosen large language model to create each one for you. The link is in the description or available through the AI for Experts website. And I want to be clear about why this matters. The power in AI lies in the context you provide it. Not so much the model or the tool, but the quality of what you put in. These documents are that context. The more effort you invest in getting them right, the better your outputs will be. Once you've got one solid assistant working well, you'll probably start wondering, should you build more? One for sales, one for content, one for delivery perhaps. And honestly, yes, having specifically designed assistants for different parts of your business is important, but that's the next step, not the first one. The first step is to use your business assistant and test its limits. Try it across different use cases, see where it performs well and where it starts to strain. That's how you find out where a specialist version is actually needed, not by guessing up front. And here's what matters most when you do start building more. The context has to be consistent across all of them. Same positioning, same standards, same understanding of who you serve and how you work. They need to be singing from the same hymn sheet. The moment your assistants start reflecting different versions of your business, the outputs become unreliable. One excellent assistant beats 4 mediocre ones, and 4 assistants built on inconsistent foundations don't just underperform, they create maintenance overhead and create quality problems that compound over time. Focus on getting the foundations right first. Before you go and build though, there are a few things worth knowing about where this works well and where it doesn't. Remember that the context inside your custom GPT can go stale. If your offer changes, your positioning shifts, or you tweak your tone of voice, the assistant doesn't know unless you update it. It's also not autonomous. It doesn't think, it doesn't make decisions, it's simply pattern matching against your inputs and producing a plausible first draft. That's genuinely useful, but it's not a second opinion and it's not a replacement for your gut instinct. Now you might be thinking, can I use this assistant or variations of it with external clients? The short answer is yes. Custom GPTs can be shared with a simple settings change, but be careful. The context you've provided was built for internal use. It reflects how you think, not necessarily how you want to present to clients. So before you share anything externally, make sure what's inside it is something you're comfortable putting in front of the people you're trying to impress. So now you've seen the walkthrough, here are your next steps. 1. Create the documentation that's going to form the basis of your assistant. Use the prompts on the AI for Experts website to build each one. That's your firm foundation. 2. Build your custom GPT, your gem, or your Claude project, following the exact approach we've walked through today. 3. Test it, use it, dip into it every day. You'll find you're probably leaning on it more and more as it starts to return outputs that actually reflect your business context. 4. Find its boundaries, refine it, update the context where it needs to, and then when you're ready, explore new versions built for specific purposes. So that's the path. 4 steps to create one business assistant built properly, used on real work. Everything else follows from there. Let me know how you get on.